Hello. I highly doubt anybody's even here yet, but we're going to sit here for a couple minutes. My name is Charles. Some of you guys might know me as Necessary Evil or something. But yeah. Apparently, yeah, there's going to be a lot of crazy lives and everything going on in the next few days or whatever, starting with tonight. I wasn't even going to do this one, honestly, but I was over there watching something on somebody else's channel and it just, I don't know, it irked the hell out of me. So I just, I was like, yeah, somebody needs to give a different perspective on all that. And it doesn't matter if anybody shows up or anybody doesn't. It doesn't really make a difference because I'm just going to sit here and rant anyway. So why not, right? Um, I was going to do the whole screen sharing thing and posting videos from some of my friends and stuff like sleuth intuition and all that, showing different things that you can hear, see, and all that other stuff that kind of points to a perspective of the possibility of there being someone other than Bridge Guy being with Bridge Guy. But in reality, I really would rather probably get permission to do that first, just in case. I don't know, just polite, give respect and all that good shit. So as I said, I'm gonna wait a couple minutes. I don't have barely any subscribers on this channel since I destroyed the other one. And if the else shows up, and I don't know who's watching me, probably some weirdo, but I will go through all the stuff anyways that I know of that not definitively, but probably points to the fact of BG, which in my mind, after looking at all the combined amounts of evidence, leads you to believe that yes, Richard Allen is BG. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that, in my opinion, at least slightly above the reasonable doubt threshold, more or less. And you don't have to like that. That's just my personal opinion. I will not hate on you for yours. Tonight is not a pro state. It is not a pro defense. It is neither. We're just talking in general about Senior Bridge Guy. Tomorrow will be, yeah, I'm going to do a live about pro defense side from their perspective and unfold that whole big can of worms out for everybody. And you don't have to agree. Remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. So you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to have the same opinion of me. I will not trash you. I will not disown you. And I will not hate you. But I'm still going to give you my opinion. You don't have to like it. Hell, I don't like it like, I don't know, 22% of the time. In this case, I tend to jump back and forth, and it's not because I think of anybody's innocence or guilt and all this other stuff. It's for different perspectives I have, such as did he have help? Where was the help? When did he have help? If he had help, all this other stuff. There's a lot of different combined questions, and a much more logical way for people to understand that maybe he had help, but not in the way most people think he did. And once you can come to that kind of perspective, you are left with the realization of yes, there's still at least 1 to 2 people that's possible to be facing a felony murder charge, which is pretty damn bad. So, but I will let you know well in advance right now that after looking at it from both different sides, actually multiple different sides, not even just the two, you'll find out every night because I have 4 lives I got to do tomorrow. Maura Murray and Stephen Baldwin, and a possible connected case, maybe. I don't know. I'll lay that out. You tell me what you think. I think I'm doing a Charlie Manson thing tomorrow with my buddy, and hopefully that's still happening. Yeah. And then I'm gonna do the pro defense thing, and I'm pretty sure I have one more tomorrow too. But I can't remember what I'll figure it out. But yeah, I had already told myself that I was going to stop doing Delphi lives and stuff, and it's just I've, I see too many people with too many damn questions, and the questions are obvious, but it's like either they're on one side of the aisle, and the people on the other side are the ones with the answers, and they don't want to go there to answer the questions. or vice versa. It's like if you kind of drift in the middle a little bit there, and are like, oh, Richard Allen probably was there, or he was involved, or he murdered them, and but he could have had help, and or help in a different manner. There's a whole bunch of different options, and starting tonight, we're gonna go through them all, and there's gonna be a lot of crazy lives that most people don't know the facts to, and once I bust those out too, I think they're gonna be a little bit, yeah, it's kind of it's weird. That's all I'm gonna say. It's weird. Once everybody actually has a good vision on what the hell I've seen my 8+ years of being in this group, uh, all sides, because yeah, in my opinion, in true crime, there is no pro state, there is no pro defense. For you to be doing this correctly in the first place, you need to literally be looking in from all different sides. And it's not until then can you get a full perspective of what the hell happened at the crime scene and all the other stuff. And once you get that all figured out, then you need to figure out, hey, okay, do I think the Richard Allen's the guy that's involved? And don't worry, we're going to cover all that. Probably not tonight. Tonight's just no pro state, no pro defense, none of that stuff. No Richard Allen's innocent or guilty or anything like that. None of that. We're not paying attention to none of that tonight. Tonight, I'm just going to point out the simple, logical facts, reasons. I say facts, but it's just like, probabilities. There we go. That that bridge guy was there by himself that day. Because I do believe if people were to look at it um, from the right perspective, which is from no perspective, like they should have done in the first place. If you make an assumption on who you think you did these crimes, no matter if it's Delphi or Idaho or the Manson murders or this and that and the other, you're losing sight of so much different evidence and a large chunk of the story. And if you really want to have your answers to your questions, which don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of questions I need to have answered, but yeah. But yeah, it's just the right way to do it. I don't understand why people start making judgment before they know all the facts. I don't get it. But yeah, every single night we're just going to run through and do as much as we possibly can in a short amount of time to point out and show or whatever uh, weird, odd details about the case that maybe somebody missed, maybe somebody didn't. Maybe you just want to have a refresher. That's up to you. I don't care. But yeah, I mean, why don't we just start right up to that? I mean, we see the video, the 43-second video, that bridge guy is already on the bridge coming for all the conspiracy theorists out there. I guess he was in the video. I'm just saying, wait until you have the evidence and then make your choice. That's all I'm saying. So, yes, he was indeed in the video. And this is where the first problem, in my opinion, starts hitting very big time. There's a big major red flag for anybody that says he's got somebody with him or he's got help or anything like that. Because we know full well by the recording of the video that Libby is facing Bridge Guy and recording, obviously. And then we can see Abby in front of the camera at most, quite a few points, and she's facing the exact opposite direction that Libby is facing. Okay. And we already know if we go ahead and believe the witness, Betsy Blair, that she saw the bridge man or whatever on that first platform or whatnot. He said something to her. I'm not even going to go through all that. And then they both proceeded to go in a certain direction back to the trails. Now, we can only be left to assume that at this point he sees the girls, wonders to himself if they're going to go on the bridge, and he's already set this trap up and blah, blah, blah. But here's the problem: we see Abby in a picture taken by Libby on the train on the bridge, and in that picture, unless he is hidden so far away that we cannot barely see a speck of him or whatever else, he's nowhere near the bridge at this point in time. We cannot see him; he's not in a visual shot. And once again, right off the bat, I'm going to say that probably As I said, probably this isn't for sure. It's the first sign that Bridge Guy is alone. And what he's probably doing is he's gone back to where on the trail around that corner. And what he's doing is he's making sure no witnesses are coming because he doesn't want to get all the way across that platform, the bridge and stuff, to the girls, pull the gun out and all that other stuff, and end up getting caught for some dumb reason about not making sure he's covered. Now, once again, I'm not saying that says that means he's 100% by himself. No, there's always a possibility. Lazy people, all kinds of other stuff. Maybe they're in a different area, yada yada yada. But it's just like as these things go on, you're going to start to see a piling effect happening. And in my opinion, it's like circumstantial evidence that points to the fact that he probably is alone there. If you have help, you don't need a lookout. You can have somebody do the lookout for you, right? Well, right now, Bridge Guy is already being his own lookout, in my opinion. So, all right, the picture's already been taken. 1 second. And Bridge Guy sees that the girls are on the bridge and stuff, and they fall into the trap. As I said a long time ago, this most likely seems like an organized crime in the sense of where the crime occurred, but a disorganized victim set and all this other stuff. It didn't matter who was on that bridge, but as long as somebody got on that bridge that was female and under a certain specific age and all that other stuff, that they were plenty fine for what Bridge Guy needed to get done. Now, like I said, I am going to point out as we go along any and all evidence I can think of that somehow points to the possibility of more than one perpetrator. And there is some. I'm going to tell you right now. That's why I'm still saying I'm not for sure. I'm going to say I'm like 90%. Yeah, kind of about 90%. All right. So we see Bridge Guy in the video and this and that and the other. He approaches the girls. We know with Abby whispers, he's right behind me or something like that. And I'm not going to even start talking about the whole video because that's going to be a forever kind of deal too in itself. So all I'm going to say is we know that's where that begins. And this is the second problem now. For one, the first problem was the lookout. Don't have a lookout. He got to do it himself. Okay. Let's let that one slide. All right. Now we got our second problem. What is the most, you should all be asking yourself, what is the most crucial point of this crime? Where the best chance are basically it failing for the bad guy. And if you think about it, it's right here. If he doesn't play lookout and a witness pops up, he can get screwed that way. If the girls get courage or something, or just fight, flight, or freeze, but if they fight, but if they shove him, he falls off the bridge, but he lives, breaks a couple legs. But you know what? He tried to pull a gun on a couple of little girls. That's attempted kidnapping. He's got life in prison coming his way, right? Last time I checked, that's basically the sentence for possible kidnapping and all that other stuff, let alone times two. They're looking left, in my opinion, they are looking left and right all the way around there for down the hill and stuff for a way and means of escaping. I doubt Bridge Guy even knows at this point in time that Abby actually lives back there. So, like I said, once that gun comes out or his actual issues start coming out and he starts trying to do whatever he's going to do, there's a million different, he trips, he falls, going down the hill with the girls. There's a million different reasons I can think of that this crime might screw up right here. And that's what makes it the most crucial point of the whole thing. It's the most likely point that he has most likely to get caught. If the girls get away, even one of them, he's screwed. Life in prison. Think about that. But as I said, if Abby is facing towards behind Libby, and Libby is facing a recording in front of her, so we can know for a fact there's nobody else but Bridge Guy in front of her. I do believe common sense tells me if Abby at this point is starting to get a little bit unnerved, I'm not even going to say she's scared, shitless, or anything like that yet. I'm going to say she's just unnerved. You can hear it in their voice. You can see it when they're trying to find a way out. If you don't think so, you're blind. You go to the optometrist. Just say, I don't think they were in fear of their lives yet. That doesn't start occurring until the gun and everything else starts coming out. Did it come out on the bridge? I honestly, I used to think that for sure I could hear the grunt click, and I do hear a metal sound there. But there's also ways that a metal sound can be produced, like say a hard piece of gravel being kicked or rubbed along the track part that's made out of metal. Yeah, you can get a sound just like that or whatever. I'm just saying there's a possibility. That's all. I no longer think it's 100%. Well, he pulled it out and racked it right there on the bridge. It's still most likely, but not as likely as everybody would like you to believe. I do not believe I hear any mention of the word gun. I'm just throwing that in there just to throw it in there before somebody complains or asks or whatever. But I can see why most people thought they heard that. So I'm not going to say the state did anything wrong. For all we know, they just thought they heard something that probably was not there. Okay. So at this point, Bridge Guy's probably got the gun on him. He's telling them to go down the hill. They don't have a choice. It's a very narrow thing to go walking down that hill at the angle that you're going down. Once again, if he's alone, this is still part of that crucial part of the crime. If he trips and falls, which, if I remember correctly, there was like a part of the embankment or whatever like that that looked like somebody had tripped and fell. But if he did fall, but instead he caught himself or he fell too far and was able to still grab a hold of the girls or whatever. Or if one had just took off to run, there's too many variables that he is leaving open if he has help. That's why it just don't make any damn sense that he has help in the first place because they're far away and they all go down for this crime because they all know about it. It's all being planned, right? So if he gets caught, they all get caught. So it's in their vested interest to make sure Bridge Guy doesn't get caught and the crime goes forward as planned. Correct? See, that's why I'm trying to lean forwards. And that's just the first couple of events. As they're walking down the hill, it does appear that something or somebody did fell. It seems most likely that they were single file with Libby up front, and she was probably holding on to Abby, and he probably had a gun pointed at her. It's just common sense. How do you control two kids? It's a really difficult thing to do when you're a solo person, not when you have a 40 caliber 6 hour P226 right there pointed at their head and stuff. No, it's not difficult whatsoever. As I said, it's fight, flight, or freeze. And the girls started to look like they were going to flight. And what happens? He couldn't figure out which direction to go quick enough. Bridge guy was on like white on rice. He pulls out the gun, and now they're in freeze mode. They're just doing as they're told, and nobody's probably ever told them never let somebody take you to the second um, location if they have a gun on you, because if they're going to kill you, that's most likely where that's going to happen. But as I said, they don't know that, so they ended up going anyways. Okay, they get down there by the creek and all the other stuff. Um, at this point in time, this is, I guess, where people mostly commonly think that there was probably help at. Like I said, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Um, the way the girls probably had to flee across the creek and everything else in such a rush and stuff. I don't see a group of 5 or 6 Odinists getting freaked out by freaking Brad Weber just long enough it doesn't make any sense to me. There are other aspects of this that I'm going to speak of, and they are graphic, so you've been warned. But yes, anybody that's seen the pictures or whatnot can see that while it's a little bit harder to see and all that on Abby, uh, Libby was quite a bit unclothed, and there are certain small marks that you can see on one part of her body around her shoulders that you cannot see on her legs. I have seen these kind of marks on them probably a lot of times, honestly, and it's usually the signs of someone's either dying or dead or whatever, and they're being dragged. And well, I mean, think about what I just said. It's only on one side of the body, which leads you to believe that either all his accomplices are lazy, no good, do nothing bitches, or plain out and simply only one person was there because only she was only dragged. You know, if I had my boy there, I'm gonna be like, grab her feet, dog. She said, you know, she weighs a decent amount. Da da da. You know, once again, it leads me to believe that only one person's there. Uh, he was able to drag her. I think it was a little bit, maybe slightly over 10 feet. Once again, something else that changes if you would have help. They could have found a better place to hide the bodies. I'm not saying it was a bad spot. I'm just saying we could have hit them somewhere else. I do not believe that the victims were ever removed from the scene and taken anywhere else because it makes no sense at all. And if you believe that, well, you might need some sort of weird therapy or something. That they were kidnapped, taken elsewhere, killed, and they brought back. That makes no sense. If they did that, why would they just take them somewhere else instead? Because you have to go through and then take them down down either the private road or park somewhere, walk them back through public. You know, there's just a million things you're gonna have to do to make that also work. So that, yeah, we're not gonna count that either. But oddly enough, we're not doing it. Oh, 1 second. Now, if we eliminate 9/11 from the list of crimes where something like a box cutter or whatever was used in a group effort of bad guys using things. And I'm not saying for sure that the box cutter was used. I've seen the diagram where it shows the kind of wounds that were left and all that. And yes, just like the medical examiner said, I'm going to just throw it out there that at least the only weapon I can think of thus far at the moment. So I'm not saying it's for sure, but the only weapon I can think of that has a small, tiny blade with a very short amount of length into it. I tried to say an inch the other night, and somebody got mad at me, and I'm just like, okay. But okay, as I was saying, um, there is the slashes were the very, very short bladed instrument or whatever made its penetration and all that. But next to each slash, there is an almost like small kind of weird scratch, like, or how I would say, indent kind of thing that's like partial bruise, partial slash, and its own scratch, not slash, but scratch. And it would seem like a very short bladed weapon that had some sort of guard or handle on both sides, not very deep from the actual small ass blade, that was pressed up very roughly against the girl's skin. Um, Real quick, I'm going to talk about Abby. A lot of people wonder about how what the hell happened to Abby and everything else. She's got no defensive wounds, yada yada yada. That is not. That is actually true. From what I have seen, I need to see the autopsy report to verify it one more time. But it does seem like she does not have any defensive wounds, and I think it goes along perfectly with how I said he led the girls down there to the creek in the first place. You know, he would have had Libby up front, facing away from him. He would have had Abby in the middle, probably holding her by the shoulder or something like that. Which I think there was a leak in 2019 or so that was on Greg Hughes' channel, oddly enough. But the person that was giving the leak, who ended up actually being right about a lot of details, including some of the things I'm going to be saying here today, um, They said at the time that they believed that bridge man or whatever held on to her shoulder at some point. Now it makes perfect sense if they're going single file and he needs to control them. If he holds on to Abby, Libby's probably not going to run, and vice versa. It's sad, it sucks, but that's probably how it went. Okay. Now getting back on it. So now we have a box cutter, and unless we're talking about 9/11, there's a most likelihood. Oh, as I was saying, if he's got her facing, I'd be facing in a specific direction, and he grabs her hair and pulls her head backwards, basically exposing her neck, and uses the box cutter right there. It matches pretty damn well with what we see. She's not going to know what's coming. He's going to have a couple of seconds where she goes from shock into, oh no, I need to stop this. And by then her throat's cut. You know, and it just seems the most logical to me because we need to start overthinking these things when 90% of most murders are actually pretty lame, dumb events that are easily provable. Now, on the other hand, when people sit there and say that Libby didn't fight back or anything like that, that's untrue whatsoever. You can see wounds on her hands and everything else that did not make it there on its own. It's most likely that there was a slight fight or whatever that Abby or Libby lost. Sorry, and as she's laying down on her back, at least in my opinion, he basically holds her down with his foot or something like that, and reaches out with the box cutter and goes off on her like a little tiny Wolverine, I guess, and leaves some pretty nasty wounds, cutting your arteries and everything else. Just that. But I'm trying to think. I know there's at least one more piece of evidence or whatnot that possibly points to a different person being there, but at the same time, still only indicates that one person was there, oddly enough. So I think more testing needs to be done to conclude who that person is before we get to conclusion. That's all I'm saying. All right. There was a sperm sample or whatever found all over the place, all over the victim's body in specific areas and all kinds of different stuff. Also, the same link that was on Grey Hughes that I just talked about a minute ago also said that the cops believed that whoever killed this girl in Florida did so and like normally just kept on eating or whatever and stuff, and like it didn't bother him and all this other crap. But I can't remember what happened to the little girl or anything like that, but all kinds of messed up things. I'm trying to think if there was any more. Like I said, I'm not saying any of this is definitive. I think there's just more logical ways that people need to process to think about if they want to think that more people were involved with Delphi. Because the scene itself does not, I don't see any evidence, and I'm sorry, a bad confession from an Odinist that's crazy and stuff like that. That's not evidence. I don't care what Prof or anybody says. It's just not. Let them think what they want. It doesn't bother me. We already know why they're doing this in the first place. So. Um, but in all likelihood, since we have no witnesses seeing the red Jeep, and we have no witnesses seeing any specific other car or whatever, by what Keegan Klein had admitted to and stuff, so well, we can he can see Ranger or whatever. You know what I mean? That's not our problem. It sounds like a problem to me. All right. I'm thinking one second. But yeah, okay. As I was saying, a sperm sample was found at the scene. That would mean that at least one of the perpetrators, since we only have one sample of DNA to test, it would mean that one sample was just left outside or whatever, and some other stuff. And finally, we got it or whatever. I don't know what's up with the DNA. And I'm pretty sure they're not that dumb that they tested that DNA against Richard Allen. I'm just saying, I hope so. I don't have too much faith in Indiana law enforcement. No hate on them, but at the same time, there's been a lot of mess ups like this in all kinds of different cases. And I mean, didn't we also the rumor going around that Liggett lost a fingerprint and all this other junk? Yeah, that would have been helpful. But yeah, like I said, we got no ministers placing the clients in the area. We have been asking about a gas station. Big whoop. And it just doesn't matter if you can't place them at the scene. And that's what the judge was freaking trying to say. If this is his money, you can't take it from him, whatever like that. If he wants to give it to you or something, I'm sure he'll do that. But it's just not very good of a thing to do. But yeah, this is a few of the weird reasons or whatever, or horny reasons, whatever you want to say, that basically led Bridge Guy to do what he was going to do. Did was that first confession probably the most likely one? Yeah, I believe so. Perfect, exactly right? No, probably not. But as it got over and done with, another person I don't understand is people that like to blame Ron Logan. I'm sorry. We have video surveillance, you know, cameras, blah blah blah, at the dumps at like what 12:30 somewhere in there in the afternoon. We notice crime starts occurring at 2:17. I do agree that somehow they do have enough time to get back, but then that would require the sister to say screw it and follow somebody they either don't know or shouldn't be trusting into the woods where they happen to get killed. It just doesn't make any sense to me, no matter how I think of it or process it. And then last but not least, his alternative way out or whatnot. There's no extra cars parked that you can use to get away in. Yeah. And it freaking that's how it is. I would like to know specific things about like what was up with the motorcycle cover that it appeared to be on our list of things well in advance, even though I haven't seen it in a long time myself. Um, and you're a Larry Pong guy, or Larry, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, just to me, in all likelihood, that the guy did what he was told, he did what he was supposed to do, and I don't know what happens after that. So yeah, Make stream or go that shit crazy. But yeah, this new, I don't want to say he's new because he's not new. Him and Maura Murray dated back in high school. And very soon after she disappeared, like 2 weeks or less, he hauled ass and got the fuck out. That's suspicious as hell to me in the first place. There's a girl that she was being bullied by and getting in fights with. She's also suspicious big time. Hmm. Yeah, just when you start to feel you get a new suspect or good logical reason for someone to be a killer and all that, right? Hey, come on. No, home slice. I'm gonna do the fun. Come on, get up, get in. Let's go. All right, everybody have a nice night. Like I said, Baldwin was arrested. Um, bribery, possession of a firearm which he used in an act to commit animal abuse, no, animal cruelty, from killing at least 30 plus dogs that he was not supposed to make way for ones he was being paid money to train and telling their owners they were fine. This is the kind of person that we are told to watch for because they have no empathy or sympathy. And this is one of those types of people, it's either a psychopath or a sociopath. I'm not saying fully, I'm not a shrink, I'm not going to try to be a shrink. But the symptoms itself do pretty much match up. Um, this was last month about, I can't remember, but let me clear it up. Okay. And at some point you just have to like go, nice, what you do. Well, you guys have a nice night. We'll do this all again tomorrow. If anybody's here, if anybody's not, we'll, as I said, whether or not I have an audience doesn't make a difference. I'm just going to throw out there what I know in the first place. And as time goes by, more people will be showing up and stuff. It's my fault for being so late on such a tiny channel. But that's okay. Try to do me a favor and try to do, I'm not sure what time it's going to be. Coach Kev is going live about um, Charles Manson and the Manson family and the Kate LaBianca murders. Since all those Charleses are in the story, I gotta be there somewhere nearby. It's just how it goes. It's the law. And one of the last other pieces of evidence, it does appear that sleuth intuition is able to break down the audio towards the end of the bridge guy video to where you might, I'm gonna say might, until you pull out some tower speakers or AirPods, something, gamer's headset, to listen to it. Maybe that's why the gun needs to be checked too, but just to be sure. And yeah, just go from there. But yeah, I mean, we don't have reasons to take sides, and if everybody wants to take us, it doesn't mean everybody has to be freaking fighting. Just don't. They're just opinions. Most of these people that think that Richard Allen is innocent and the pro-state gets irked by, well, if they go to Idaho, at least 65% of those people saying Allen's innocent are now saying this and such guy isn't innocent. It's just how somebody feels. You guys have a great night. Tomorrow we'll try this all again. And thank you for catching the replay and all the good stuff.